Hello and welcome back to Library of Ruina Ranked. In this video, we'll be going over the Kin Office, Church of CoG Worshippers, and the Liu Section 1. Our first page is Energy Beam. This is a 4-cost range page rolling 13 to 21 Pierce, and on Clash Win, the user expends 2 charge to destroy the opponent's next offensive die, but only if there is an offensive die. This page is honestly not awful. While it only has a single die, it clashes like a 2-die page and is almost guaranteed to win. Of course, it is a 4-cost range page with a single offensive die, so it can't be amazing, but is good enough to be a C. Absorb Impact is a 2-cost rolling 7 to 9 block, 5 to 8 slash, and giving the user 6 charge on use. Compared to Dimensional Rift, you get a 1.5 higher roll average, but one of the dice is block instead of slash. The main part of the page is the 6 charge utility, so lower damage isn't as big a deal as it normally would be. The clashing isn't quite where I'd want to be for a single offensive page, but it's still a solid enabler at a B-. A Golden Opportunity is another 2-cost. This one rolls 2 to 9 evade, 3 to 7 block, 4 to 7 blunt. The user gains 5 charge on use, and 2 additional charge when the evade wins a clash. I personally like this page more than Absorb Impact. You lose 1 power on the offensive die to split the solid block into a decent evade and block. You also have the potential to gain more charge, especially if you clash into a page with multiple offensive dice in a row. It's not an incredible page, but it's a solid enabler and is a B. Devastating Thrash is a 3-cost rolling 4 to 8 Pierce, 4 to 8, 5 to 9 Blunt, but on use, the user expends 4 charge to boost the power of the dice by 2. Rolling 6 to 10, 6 to 10, 7 to 11 without power boosts is really good, a decent bit higher than Wrath of Torment. Of course, you get this page 2 chapters later than Wrath, and the trigger condition is much steeper, but the damage output and clashing potential are great. Overall, that makes this page an A tier. Ready Up is next. This 2-cost rolls 4 to 8 block, 5 to 8 pierce, 3 to 8 evade, and on use, the user expends 2 charge to give 1 protection to all allies this scene and next scene. This is a decent payoff page, giving 10 protection for 2 charge, and the clashing is also solid. The evade on 3 is nice because it can sometimes act like a counter die when clashing into 2-die pages, and block on 1 is good to counter opposing evades on 1. This page doesn't see as much use as it could because the best charge payoffs are extremely good rather than just pretty good, but this is a B+ tier page. Energy Shield is a 1-cost rolling 3 to 4, 3 to 7 block, 3 to 5 pierce. The user gains 3 charge on use, and 1 additional charge if the first block loses a clash. This is a decent enabler, but worse than Rewind. The roll range is close, Rewind having a 0.18 higher roll average, but the evade on Rewind is actually quite strong. If you're doing harder receptions with these pages, then Energy Shield will become better because blocks are more versatile, but for now, I think Energy Shield is just a C. Energy Conversion is next. This is a 1-cost rolling 3 to 7 blunt, 2 to 5 slash. The blunt draws a page on hit, and on use, the user expends 4 charge to restore 3 light. This is an incredible payoff page, and is one of the only negative 2-cost pages in the game. The rolls are awful, so you can't really clash with this, but that's fine because the utility is incredible. Even without the page draw, it'd be insane, and I do think it's good enough to be an S+ tier page. Uncanny Strike is a 2-cost rolling 7 to 13 pierce, 4 to 7 block. Additionally, on hit, the pierce expends 2 charge to deal 6 stagger damage, triggering up to 3 times depending on how much charge the user has. 18 stagger damage is no joke, and being able to scale it depending on whether you need the charge for other purposes like drawing pages or restoring light is great as well. The rolls are decent, most of the power being stacked on the offensive die is nice because the block will always mitigate some damage, and the placement is good as well. Overall, that makes this page a B+. Vapor is a 3-cost rolling 9 to 19 slash that inflicts 3 smoke on hit, and on use, the user gains 4 smoke and draws a page. Compared to Deep Drag, you gain 1.5 power on the offensive die and move some of the smoke around, although still giving a net 7 smoke, but you lose the evade die. That's worse, because while the evade wasn't incredible, it was still strong enough to contend with value pages, and stacking more power into the die that's already very likely to win isn't great. You also get Vapor later, so it's just a B-. Defense Order is next. This is a 2-cost rolling 7 to 10 block, 4 to 8 slash, and it gives the user 4 smoke on use. Compared to Absorb Impact, you gain half a power on the defensive die, but lose half a power on the offensive die, and of course instead of 6 charge you get 4 smoke. The roll spread is ever so slightly worse, but 4 smoke is worth significantly less than 6 charge, which means this page gets a C-. Autonomous Rush is another 2-cost rolling 5 to 9 slash, 3 to 7 pierce. The slash inflicts 2 smoke on hit, and on use, the user gains 2 smoke. This page has middling damage and middling smoke infliction and generation. The clashing isn't great because 3 to 7 is likely to lose to a lot of things, so this page also gets a C-. Assault Order is yet another 2 cost, rolling 2 to 6 evade, 4 to 8 pierce, 3 to 8 slash, and on use, if the target has 2 or more smoke, the offensive dice gain 1 power. Having the same roll range and spread as Fleet Edge, this page ends up being slightly worse in my opinion because while the extra power is nice and easy to trigger, it lacks dice type consistency and the haste effect isn't nothing. It's still good enough to be a C+ though. Guidance of the Gears is a 1 cost, rolling 3 to 7 block, 4 to 6 pierce, and on use, the user gains 2 smoke and restores 2 light. This is extremely good light regen for smoke decks. Compared to the other light regens, you have the stronger roll average and additional utility on top of it. It's no energy conversion, but it's still good enough for an S. Flaming Dragon Fist is up next. This is a 4 cost, rolling 3 to 8 block, 13 to 28 blunt, with the blunt inflicting 6 burn on hit. This page is pretty bad as it has the same problems as 3 costs with 2 dice have, but more so since it's a 4 cost. Sure, you're almost guaranteed to win the 2, but that much power is usually overkill and it could have been spent elsewhere. It does counter Raging Storm Love decently well, but it's just a D. Fervid Emotions is another 4 cost. This one rolls 7 to 11 slash, 6 to 11 blunt, 3 to 8 slash counter, with the 1 and 2 inflicting 1 burn 2 times on hit, and on use, all the dice on the page gain 1 power for every 2 emotion levels. This page is a decent bit better than Flaming Dragon Fist. While the roll range is quite a bit lower, the power stacks more evenly, with double offensive dice, it has a counter die, and the power can get even higher, although it'll still have a lower roll average. It's not amazing by any means, but it'll beat most 3 costs with 3 dice and has good damage, so that makes this page a B. Fiery Waltz is a 3 cost, rolling 5 to 9 evade, 6 to 9 slash, 5 to 9 blunt, with both offensive dice inflicting 1 burn to all enemies if the target has 4 more burn on hit. This page has some decent rolls, being a bit better than an unenhanced Emotional Turbulence, but as you might have gathered from that, that's only unempowered, and at a single power, Emotional Turbulence will outroll this page. That's not great because not only do you get this page later, there's also less utility. In a burn-focused deck that can reliably trigger the effect, the burn is pretty good and worth the use, but without that it's just slightly above average rolling 3 cost with no utility, and because the floor is so low, this page is just a C. Violent Flame is a 1 cost, rolling 3 to 8 slash, 3 to 7 pierce, with the slash inflicting 1 burn on hit, and on combat start, when inflicting burn using combat pages, the user inflicts an additional stack. This is the burn equivalent of Dark Cloud, but is quite bad. Pages that can't clash and don't provide utility are becoming an increasing liability, especially with actually good light regen and page draw, unlike an Urban Plague, and burn is also a worse status defect than bleed. Both of these factors make this page an F. Single Point Stab is next. This is a 0 cost, rolling 3 to 9 pierce, inflicting 1 burn on hit, and on use, at the start of the next scene, the user draws all copies of Single Point Stab from the deck. This is a rather interesting page, but unfortunately, it's just not good. Sure, this page can technically draw up to 3 pages, or even up to 6 if you somehow manage to clone it 3 times and you discard your hand, but the fact of the matter is that the page is just not worth casting. Drawing pages is nice because it digs you towards your bomb pages and utility pages, but this just digs up more garbage for you to cast. Speed dice slots are your most important resource, and you shouldn't waste your time with this F tier slot waste. Our last page today is Burning Flash. This is a 2 cost, rolling 6 to 10 slash that inflicts 1 burn on hit, and on use, if there's another copy of Burning Flash in hand, the user discards it and draws a page, then adds the Burning Flash die to the one that's currently being cast. This is a somewhat confusing page, but basically, if you have another Burning Flash in hand when you cast the page, you'll get 2 6 to 10 dice and go card neutral. Interestingly, this works favorably with Singular Strike, giving the bonus to the first die but not the second. The downside of the card is that it's fairly clunky to use, since you need to make sure you have a copy of Burning Flash in hand, which means you can only cast 1 at a time without clone, and sometimes you'll just get stranded with 1 in hand for a couple of scenes. Not a terrible downside, but you're jumping through hoops for a page that's pretty good at sealing and awful at the floor, so I can't give it higher than a C+. In the next video, we'll be covering the index proxies and R-Core pages. I'll see you soon, and as always, thank you for watching.